Hey, what is going on? Welcome. If you are new here, please subscribe, click the bell, ding the dong, bing the bong, all that great stuff. Share everywhere, including your YouTube community tab. Please and thank you. The creature's immortality is tied to their belongings in the cave. That's the reason why when Victor and Henry during season 3 went into the cave, went into the tunnels, and Victor went to the chamber that he remembered seeing all of the items, including bicycles, luggage, grandfather clock in a particular chamber. They were no longer there because Victor was like, I remember Jasper being on a luggage in a corner right by the entrance or near the entrance. Victor and Henry go in there. It's no longer there. The creatures went deeper into the tunnels. So in this theory, the creatures went deeper into the tunnels because their immortality is tied to the precious items in the cave. When Victor and Tabitha walked into a chamber, it seemed like the creatures were right there by the entrance as if they were guarding the entrance, but they more than likely were guarding the precious items or the personal items at the entrance. Thank you for watching. Hopefully subscribe and click the bell. Also click the join button to join the channel membership. You can also donate through Super Thanks and Cash App. Cash App is $Spade Parkland. Thanks in advance. Let's go back to that. It's kind of a blink and you miss it moment. The same nightgown that the ghastly child that is presumably the original daughter of the original Tabitha and original Jade, the same thing that she's wearing is equivalent to what Tabitha finds in her hand in the suitcase in the tunnel. And when looking it up online, closest thing that I could find, maybe you could find something better, is this is on eBay. It's a white christening gown, 1960s, Madonna original eyelet, sheer floral. I found the one for a newborn, but it's the same design for like a child or for a kid. So it's not an exact match. It's more than likely the art department. They may have like custom made a gown for the ghastly children, the ghoulish children on the show. The fact that Tabitha went into a 1950s, 1960s suitcase, maybe even early 1900s suitcase, and pulled out a vintage gown that is free from dust, free from dirt, inside of a suitcase in the cave, in the chamber of the cave. The times we've seen the ghoulish children after she does this tunnel navigation with Victor, all of the current ghoulish children, ghastly children's clothes are like dirty and worn. Yet this is new. It looks brand new to me. That means that there has to be humans in the tunnels, in the chambers, currently wanting to sacrifice teddy bears. In the lighthouse, all of these are years, with the last one, 1978, being the year that Miranda was born. When she died, she was 30, being born 1978. If Tabitha sacrifices herself, she's going to be putting her birth year right here at the very end. Got a space for her right there. My prediction for season 4, maybe even the end of season 5, is going to be Tabitha's going to remember all of her previous reincarnations, and she may write all these years up there in remembrance of her and put hers at the very end. Or maybe this is an alternate timeline. The way this is written is completely different, and maybe it would be a situation where instead of Tabitha jumping into Miranda's body and having a vision of being Miranda, like we saw in season 3, episode 9, where Miranda was running towards the faraway tree in the dark and Smiley Creature ran up and got her, maybe instead of Tabitha jumping into them, they will all jump into her and they'll write their years down and she'll put hers right there at the end. Maybe that'll be an ability that she gains where all the different previous reincarnation versions of herself all live in her head and they can all talk to her and even take over her body, or she can have them come out and do something to help her solve more puzzles and help her figure stuff out. In this theory, all of these are years. With all these being years, the first time was 1506. The future version of her, 1609, Tabitha, remembered who she came from and remembered the 1506. Or the 1506 person put their year there somehow, some way. That would mean that Tabitha basically was alive during the colonization of America. After Christopher Columbus made the first voyage to America, 1492, right before the Roanoke colony was established, which would mean that she was born right around the time where Europe was starting to make the first colony in the quote unquote New World. But I don't think that Tabitha was European, like the first Tabitha, the original Tabitha, as a colonist coming to America. I think that maybe Jade, the original Jade, was a colonist coming on one of the voyage ships from Europe. And Tabitha was already in America as a Native American. When Tabitha had a dream of the township when she was a little girl, and they showed her as a little girl on the show, this was her having a vision of Fromville. And she says that she had the same nightmare every night where she's playing around in the area with the totems and the 3 rocks with the red on top. And then she goes behind one of the rocks to hide from something. And I guess it gets on top of the rock and jumps at her and she wakes up. So this is a nightmare and not necessarily an actual physical representation of Tabitha in regards to being like a reincarnation. For the sake of this theory, this is just a younger version of Tabitha in the dream that appeared to be real, and it's not a previous reincarnation. So the ghoulish or ghastly children started to haunt Tabitha after Tabitha falls through the hole that was made when she was hacking away at her basement, and she fell through the hole into the tunnels underneath the town, and she sees the cave painting. So while she's examining the cave painting, that's when I believe the man in the yellow suit started to push stuff from the living room floor, which included the furniture, down into the hole to cover up this cave painting so that she wouldn't be able to see it. 'Cause I think that her connection to the Native Americans of the land, that energy is what the man in the yellow suit was trying to prevent, because her energy could wake up the ghoulish children, and it did. And I believe the energy from the children, the hope energy they poured into the roots that turned into the symbol, that turned into the faraway tree, their energy that's in the cave is what powers the homes. And that's the reason why there's a cord in this theory. That's the reason why there's a cord with no end to it, because there's no need for electricity source when the power of the children is enough to power a lot of things, including homes, flashlights, lamps, even appliances, and probably even vehicles. 1590, a relief expedition was sent to Roanoke Island, but the colonists were nowhere to be found because, in my theory, a spell to dispose of corpses was cast, which included burying the objects of the dead underneath the town, similar to what the boy in white did with Victor. Victor said he couldn't bury all the bodies when they were scattered all around town. I believe that people from Victor's cycle went into the faraway tree, fell from the sky onto the street, and then the creatures tore them up. The same way the boy in white was like, just take the precious items from those people and bury those items. I think the boy in white used a spell or used magic or some type of power that made the bodies disappear. That's how the bodies in Roanoke Island or the Roanoke colony disappeared, and there was no trace of them. To the children who were born in the dark they were murdered. The children wouldn't have any precious items to be attached to other than their corpses. That's the reason why their corpses may be in the crypts that are in the bottom of the chambers. And that's why when Tabitha was in the chamber with Victor, one of the children had showed his face, because their bodies are in those crypts.
What is this?
So this is what I'm talking about when I mean the crypt. The teddy bears' bodies are there. That's why Tabitha saw a vision of one of the teddy bears, because that's where their bodies are. These branches aren't to prevent the children from getting out because they're already deceased. These branches are to keep people from getting in there and getting to them. And you see that in that same room, the creatures were there asleep, as if they're not only guarding their precious belongings, but also guarding the children. Going back and rewatching the scene, their luggage is in a separate chamber or area from where the creatures were with all their belongings and items. And I think that's because, in my opinion, the luggage had somewhat of a brand new vintage gown in it and was away from the creatures and off on its own, was because that belonged to an actual human, was down there to worship it, to sacrifice a teddy bear that's currently alive, and wanted to do a ritual. When going further into the episode, as they're navigating the tunnels, the rat's eating the crow, and they keep going. When they're turning a corner, getting ready to go into the chamber, there's a creature right there guarding the entrance to the chamber, but the creatures sleep. And they go into the chamber, and you see like wheelchairs, you see bikes. I think that some of this stuff was also taken down there, not because they're precious to the creatures, but also maybe for the children to maybe play with, for future children who are alive to play with until they're ready to be sacrificed. You see all the luggage. That's kind of the reason why the luggage is there. The luggage probably has other gowns in it, other stuff used for ritualistic purposes. That may also be the reason why there's books on top of there. When humans become creatures after making a deal with it, whatever they come with, the luggage, the books, and all that becomes their precious items that they're attached to, and they just kind of keep it with them. So going through, navigating the cave. Now you got another one asleep right there. Sleep right next to the items that I believe that they're attached to. Grandfather clock. And this is where Victor sees Jasper. I'm thinking that Christopher went down there to save the children. He didn't want to go through the faraway tree, but he decided to go into the cave. He more than likely lost his life, and they just kept Jasper either as a trophy or just started keeping him with all the belongings. So that's Tabitha. She's freaking out because she's by herself. The original sacrifice more than likely took place during the colonial times of Americas, because not only do you have the 1506, but you had Jade, who saw a previous reincarnation version of himself. That's what I believe, of him being impaled against the tree to his eye. I think that was like the colonial version of him. And it's more than likely that after the original Tabitha and original Jade were not able to save the children while they were dying, they performed a ritual, maybe even took an oath to be able to avenge their people and avenge the children and get revenge by committing their life and their future lifetimes to righting a wrong and having the reincarnation cycle go over and over and over again until they eliminate the evil and eliminate it. So if the sacrificing took place the 1500s around colonial times and that was it, there wouldn't be any need for any new vintage gowns inside of a suitcase. And the vintage gown is what kind of is like what's worn on the female children that we see on the slabs of rock. And we don't see the slabs of rock anymore in the room that Jade went into, because so much time has passed that maybe the rocks have just been destroyed through weatherization and time. Or maybe this is a chamber that they haven't gone into yet. Around 1950, there was a mass migration to the township through word of mouth and publications of rumors that a god lived in caves that could grant wishes. People formed a cult, and the same voices that talked to Sarah told people to build homes on top of the chambers to trap the children's energy and prevent the spread of the forest. And the homes were powered by the trapped energy. However, fake outlets and wires were installed so no one would know that the houses were a trap, and they wouldn't know the true source of the power or energy, to prevent them from wanting to dig in their basement or go into the caves to investigate. I think the forest turned the township into a trap around the 1960s, so no one could leave and bring more people into town. It still would bring victims in, of course. When the township became Fromville, people could only perform rituals maybe during a cycle. In this theory, there are still humans in the cult, in the tunnels, worshiping it, performing rituals, and that is why there are still suitcases with gowns in them. We've seen one, but in this theory, I'm thinking the other suitcases also have gowns and different things in it for ritualistic purposes. So yeah, I think if you give more of the creatures worms or cut off their heads, they'll find a way to come back, maybe even being born through someone. But I think if they go to the caves and destroy all those things that are down there, that will eliminate the creatures once and for all. Before I let you go, have a sponsor for today's video. We have a super thanks from Amanda Kenny 4997. I appreciate it. You truly are outstanding and the real MVP. So thank you for sponsoring this video. Thank you for everyone else who is a channel member. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and click the bell and share the video on the way out. I'll see you in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.